Om Shruti-Purana Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat-Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya-Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavathaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Anuraniyan Mahato Mahiyan
Anuraniyan Mahato Mahiyan
Atmasya Jantur Nihito Guhayam
Atma Sajanto Nihita Guhayam
Makratu Pashyati Vita Shokaha
Amruto Pashyati Vita Shokaha
Atu Prasadan Mahimanamatmanaha
Dhatu Prasadat Mahimanamatmanaha
Asino Duram Brajati
Asino Duranam Rajati
Ayano Yati Sarvataha
Prajano Yati Sarvataha
Kastam Madamadam Devam
Tastam Madamadam Devam
Adanyo Nyatumarhati
Madanyo Gratum Arhati
Shariram Sharireshu
Asaram Shariram Sharireshu
Anavastesh Pravasthitam
Namaste Pravasthitam
Mahantam Vibhumatmanam
Mahantam Vibhumatmanam
Matva Dhiro Nashochati.
Matva Dhiro Nashochati.
Dharmaraja started to give the Upadesha, explain the nature of that which survives death of the body, Atma. Up to this point, earlier he had those two verses, Hato chain manyate hantum, Hanta chet manyate hantum, Hatas chet manyate hatamachata. These three verses, he talks about some opposites existing together, which to our mind is an impossibility. In the first part of each of these three verses, he talks about certain opposite, which we had looked at as paradoxes. How can you understand a paradox when two opposites exist together? Light and darkness cannot exist together. Jnanam, ajnanam cannot exist together. Like that. Sukha and harsha cannot exist together. And yet, he says this is the same. Very small and very big cannot exist together. Near and far cannot exist together. Inside and outside cannot exist together. And yet, he says that is the nature of Atma. And in the second part of each of these, he either talks about the great benefit of understanding this paradox. And people say it's not very easy to understand. But if it is easy to understand, everybody will understand. Then everybody will be Mukta Purusha. It's not easy to understand. But if we understand, then the benefit is enormous. So he takes these three verses and talks about why is it so difficult to understand? When we start as human beings with great advantage, Manushyatvam, and that part of Manushyatvam which we looked at earlier in Viveka Chudamani is that capacity to question, the capacity to discriminate, the capacity to say there's something not right, something that I have not clearly understood. Most people, most humans are skeptical. They say that's it. Whatever is life, although they have some doubts in the back of the mind. They don't know where to find the answers. That's how we start the whole thing. Somewhere the doubt keeps pricking us and you start searching for answers. You become a seeker. But doesn't lead you anywhere. It goes banks again, dead end, you come back, bank again, another dead end, you come back. Because we're trying to use the same instruments which we use to study and know objects, to know this, to know I. So it just goes, yato vacho nivartante, aprapya manasa saha, goes and comes back, goes and comes back. Words can't get there, manas can't get there. And creates a whole new paradox in our mind. You say that it's not available for mind, it's not available for senses, then how in the world am I going to know this? And yet you say it is noble. That is where the whole exercise is. How to know. So what do? You find many people look for something unusual, something which is inexplicable, which our normal analysis, our buddhi, and so-called science cannot explain. The dictionary, we call them miracles. And we say if somebody, a human being is involved in these miracles, there are miracles in nature. But if a human being is involved in some of these miracles, we think there is something extraordinary about the human. There is, no doubt about that. Like, for example, there are fakirs, yogis, who live in the upper reach of the Himalayas with no clothes. Now, to our mind, that's an impossibility. How can the human body live in temperatures which are so low without feeling anything, without getting frozen? If we go and do that, we'll probably come back and amputate our leg or a hand or something. How do they do it? It looks like a miracle. So in some fashion, on the one hand, our mind rejects them, saying that they are freaks. On the other hand, the mind also says there's something about them which I don't understand. There's something extraordinary about them. People who can hold their breath for several minutes at a time underwater. To us, it's impossible. I can barely hold it for 30 seconds. Miracle. Church has a very funny this thing. They have a process of giving sainthood. And they usually give sainthood only after the person has died for many years after that. And they have some very strict processes to go through, of which one condition is they should have performed 2 miracles. That's one of the conditions for somebody to get a sainthood. So you become saint so-and-so. We don't need all that. To us, if we equate a saint to a sadhu, which is not really equivalent, there are many sadhus. And we don't even necessarily say that the sadhu is one who knows everything. A sannyasi can be a vividisha sannyasi. All he knows is that there is something to know. Knowing that is a big thing, that there is something to know. And once you know that there is something to know, and therefore I put all my energies, all my time into knowing that. Therefore, I am a vividisha sannyasi, he can declare. And we respect that. We respect the fact because, again, it is very unusual. For us, success means worldly goods, worldly wealth, fame, all the rest of that. Therefore, somebody who disregards those and goes after something he knows there is to know, the wise man, he who knows and knows he knows is the wise man. He who knows and he who knows that there is something to know is also a wise man. He goes looking for it. Then he recognizes that that knowing cannot happen. We will see that also in the later verses in this Upanishad also. Cannot be got except through the process as delineated by the Shastra itself. Many places we've seen this. Na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena, dhanen, tyage naiva amritattvamanashuku. You cannot just get it. There is no other path. There is only one path available for you to do this. You have to know. And that is because every jivatma is actually a mukta purusha. That is the existent fact. You just have to know. Not just know in words, but know in a fashion that is convincingly assimilated that I am that. And to do that, Yamadharmaraja takes us through this process. Earlier he said, Bhagavad Gita also does the same thing, second chapter. It does nothing, avikara, doesn't have kartrutvam, doesn't have bhoktrutvam. Again, to us, to our mind, how can somebody not have kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam? You cannot be in this jagat without doing any karma. And if you do karma, kartrutvam is there. That's the way we think. He says, if you have to understand yourself, before you understand yourself, understand that there is the Atma which survives death of the body, which has no kartrutvam, no bhoktrutvam. Again, a lot of effort to understand that. And in these three verses, he's taken 3 or 4 more such opposites. Karma implies kartrutvam. And to have, say that karma is there but no kartrutvam is there, is a contradiction which we have to find out how to understand. Hot and cold cannot be together, except I found one ice cream. I'm sure you guys have seen this as well, called, what is it called? Fried ice cream. It is ice cream inside and they fry something on top, so hot and cold, together at the same time. Otherwise, you cannot find anything which has this dvandva, opposite, at the same time together in this jagat. Therefore, to us, it's like a miracle. But I don't want to be fooled by miracles. So Yamadharmaraja tells us that which is anuhu and Anuhu api anutaram, and mahat. Mahata api mahat. How can I understand this? And he explains, to understand this, there is a certain preparation required. Akratuhu. You cannot understand these apparent paradoxes without certain amount of preparation and without certain sharpness of the buddhi. The subtlety of the buddhi to go in and figure out where the inconsistencies lie. I don't know if you remember when you were children, we used to do one exercise and show to our friends that 0 is equal to 1. Whole series of steps and then say 0 is equal to 1. Somewhere along the step there's error, obviously. And that error comes because of not understanding the nature of either infinity or of 0. In all of these cases, not understanding the concept of infinity or the concept of 0, we derive these and prove to somebody else that 0 is equal to 1. How can you say this unless the mind is well prepared and sharp enough to go in and see where the inconsistency is? Similarly here, how can you understand something which is smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, which is both inside and outside, which is both hot and cold? This is where what we have been trying to understand the last several classes. And we'll repeat this over and over again till it begins to make sense. Any opposites belong to the Jagat. And there is another order of reality which is different from the Jagat. And there is, from that perspective, there is an adhishthanam which sustains both ends of the opposite. It sustains harsha, joy, and aharsha or shukam at the other end of the spectrum. Both are sustained with that which is the Atman. The entire spectrum in dream is sustained by the knowledge of the waker, or the knowledge of the dreamer obtained in the waking state. Everything else otherwise is like a, you talk about miracles. It's like Maya, because I don't understand. How does somebody who we revere as a Mahan, which probably is true, produce a vibhuti from nowhere? How does a Mahan, and Christians make big use of this, okay? Sometimes by falsification, cure somebody simply by touching his head? That's a miracle. And then, wow, he must be a Mahan. One fellow went to one of these Christian conversion meetings, and the pastor there who said, anybody who has a problem, please come forward. I will help you clear it. So many of them already probably pre-prepared already. Went there and he pretended to cure them, and they cured, and they fell down, and they said, wow. The whole audience said, what a miracle. And one fellow put up his hand, yes, I have a problem. What is your problem? He said, I want you to help me with my hearing. I said, sure, come on up to the stage. And he came up and he did something or the other, put his hand on his head. He said, can you hear now? Is your hearing cured? I said, I don't know. My hearing is in the High Court in June. That is the kind of miracle you'll get. Now we look for it. We look to see where something, our understanding, even the scientist's understanding cannot explain. I've got miracle, and the moment the miracle is associated with an individual, we accept that individual as extraordinary. Even if not as Mahan, but certainly is extraordinary. It's only when we can go to a level of understanding what is this miracle, how is it happening, how can I understand it, how can I explain it, how can somebody explain it to me? Then I begin to get to a state where I understand what's happening. You know, there are a lot of people who call themselves rationalists. They will go to these places where people conduct miracles, walk on water, whatever, and try to prove that there is some focus there. They call themselves rationalists. I have no truck with either of them, neither the people who make miracles nor the people who prove that miracles are only illusion or try to prove. Let them be. But the fact is, as a human being, we are going in these stages. I'm sure many of you have heard of or even experienced many of these or seen, if not experienced yourself, so-called miracles done by various people. But the fact is, even within this Jagat, everything is a miracle. How in the world does the cosmos operate without damaging itself? How does a childbirth happen? To me, that is a big miracle. Childbirth is a huge miracle. And it happens so ubiquitously. Every living being experiences childbirth. But what a process. Human body is a miracle. No engineering brain can mimic the human body as well as it is done in the original. So far, no part can be replaced and made as good as the original. One doctor told me, your original part, however bad it is better than the best artificial part we can replace it with. Wonderful statement. It's a miracle. It's a miracle I can hear. It's a miracle I can see and discern. I have to step above that. This miracle, this Maya, this magic, and be able to go behind and see and understand this. And become the mind. Once you understand it, once you understand a statement like Anoraniyan, Mahato Mahiyan, you are the Mayan. You're not necessarily performing miracles, but you have understood how it is possible for something to be smaller than the smallest and yet bigger than the biggest at the same time. Because both smallness and bigness are supported by or Badhishtanam is Atma. 。 That clarity, once it comes, it is not even clarity about Atma Jnanam, self-understanding. But some understanding at this level of teaching by Yamadharmaraja that it is possible. An order of reality which is different. Therefore, Anoraniyan, Mahato Mahiyan, that Atma which lives, which is there in every human, every being's heart, being meaning every being's location of understanding, once it is well prepared and understand this, with the support and blessings of every part of the body, every sense, every dhatu, with that you understand the Mahima of Atma. Here the Mahima is different. Bhashyakara will explain the Mahima differently from the way you read it in the Bhagavad Gita. This Mahima is how he'll explain the Atma. For such a person, Vita Shokaha, freed of Shoka. Freed of Shoka implying freed of everything that you don't want. You don't want Shoka, you don't want anything to do with birth and death. No, Swamiji. I'm very happy being born again and again. All right. Go ahead. Sooner or later, you'll come to realize that that is never-ending cycle. When you recognize that, you start questioning. You have no choice but to come here and try to understand. The guru who is teaching now may not be available, but you have to go to some guru who is understood. Whenever it happens, in this janma, next janma, janma after that, or several janmas later, there is no other way. It is a choiceless choice. Swami, you have so many things to do in the world. Yes, you have to do so many things to do. Please go ahead and do them. Therefore, Bhagavan has told you in the Bhagavad Gita, do everything as a karma yogi. Sooner or later, you will come back. Well prepared, akratuhu. And you'll get there. It's all absolutely logical. So, Dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanaha. The Atma's Mahima, as now will be explained by Bhashyakara. We will read that. How to see that Atma? You're saying all this, it is God full of contradictions, this and that and this and that end belongs to the Jagat. It is not the same thing as where you're looking at the Atma from. How to understand that? It says, Tamatmanam Darshana Shravana Manana Vijnana Lingam
Darshana
Mana
Shravana
Vijnana Lingam
Akratuhu Akamaha
Akratuhu Akamaha
Drishta Drishta Bahya Vishayebhyaha
Drishta Drishta Ahya Vishesha
Uparata Buddhirityartha
Uparata Buddhi Ityartha
Tam Atmanam. Knowing that Atma possible. So this phrase, Darshana, Shravana, Manana, Vijnana, Lingam. The key word is Lingam. The indicator for this Atma is in the fact that every living being can see, can hear. How do you hear? How do you see? I told you it's a miracle. How do I understand that which enlivens this, that which makes a possibility of seeing? Chakshus chakshuhu. Manaso manaha. That which is the one behind each of these. Therefore, in every sight, every hearing, every thought, every feeling, behind all of them, when you can see this Atma, Darshana, Shravana, Manana, Vijnana, Lingam. They're all lingas. They indicate the presence of the Atma. They indicate the presence of the Atma, which has to be learned only by Shravana, Manana, Vijnana is Nididhyasana. So you can look at this phrase both ways. You see the presence of the Atma in every living being. And to see that, you need to go through the process of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Beautifully written. Tam Atmanam Darshana, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Lingam. Who can see this? Whose mind is not agitated, not disturbed, not in a fluctuating state. Akratuhu, akamaha. Swamiji, you're asking the impossible. How can, as a human being, I not have kama? Bhagavan himself has said, kama, I am in the form of kama. 7th chapter. I am in the form of kama. How can you say I should be a kama? A kama only to the extent that this kama does not agitate the mind. Again, it's a very unusual thing because to us, we know that every kama creates a need, a desire. When does it create the desire? When the kama becomes repeated kama. Yayato vishayan punsaha sangasteshu upajayate. One by one, step by step, it takes you to create great agitation within. How can you prevent it? How can you be akratuhu? Kamaha. Kama, let it come and go. Through abhyasa, through knowledge, I let the kama come, recognize the kama, and let it go. Therefore, in fact, even that shloka that I quoted, Bhagavan says, Dhyayato Vishayan Punsaha. That dhyanam on that, again and again, your thought goes on that. That is the problem. Oh, I wish I had this car. What a beautiful car. One is to say, what a beautiful car, admire it, and let it drive off. A beautiful car. I wish I had this car. I have everything in this life. I'm young. I have a lot of plus points. If only I had this car, all the girls will come to me. I'm young. Let it go. Then only one can come to a state when this mind is undisturbed. That other akratuhu, the akamaha, in what way is the akamaha? Drishta drishta bahya visheshabhya uparata buddhihi. One who can let go of all the drishta, adrishta, bahya vishaya. So one stream of people will say, I want this car, I want this house, I want that, I want the other. Another set, it's no. I am a very pious person. I follow tradition. I do all the karma. Why do you do the karma? Because my Shastra says, if I do the karma, I will go to Swargaloka. That is also karma. So, drishta drishta bahya visheshebhya. Whether it is drishta phalam because I'm seeing if I have this particular object, I will gain something, or adrishta phalam. That also is karma. So all the drishta drishta bahya visheshaha uparata buddhi, untouched by them. So to become akama is not kama, akama are opposites, viruddha. In Sanskrit, there are 6 different forms of opposites. One is called virodhartenanj, opposite. Hot, cold, dharma, adharma. But it can also mean slightly different meaning. Alpartenanj. So the kama is there, it can also be anyartenanj. Meaning that kama is there, but it doesn't affect me. So akama can have that kind of meaning. That is the kind of meaning we're looking at. Not that you don't have kama. Akama, drishta drishta bahya visheshabhya uparata buddhihi ityarthaha. Yada chaivam tada mana adini
तदा मन आदि
karanani atavah sharirasya dharanat
शरीरस्य धारणात्
sidanti
प्रसीदन्ति
yesham dhatunam
तेषां धातूनां
prasadat atmanah
प्रसादात् आत्मनः
ahimanam
महिमानं
karma nimitta vriddhi kshaya rahitam
कर्मनिमित्तवृद्धिक्षयरहितं
pashyati
पश्यति
ayamaham asmi iti
अयमहमस्मि इति
sakshat vijanati.
साक्षात् विजानाति
This being so, yadacha, this being so, evam tada, this being so like this yadacha evam tada, this being so, then mana adini karanani, all these antakkaranas, bahya karanas, all the instruments we have, jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, over which we have control. On prana, generally, we don't have control. There are internal processes. Prana, apana, udana, etc. They are internal. They just happen automatically. The yogis try to gain control of that also. They can slow down their breathing. Which is why I mentioned the yogi, for example, who stays in the Himalayas with no clothes. He can control his internal functions. Internal functions keep the body at a certain temperature. They can cut it out. But for us, for most people, those prana functions cannot be controlled. Jnanendriya and Karmendriya as Sukshma Sharira functions can be controlled. Manas can be controlled. Ahankara can be controlled. All of these mana adini karanani dhatavaha, they sustain the body. Sharirasya dharanat prasidanti. They have to bless the whole process. Dhatu prasadan, pradat actually, in the Mula it says, Dhatu prasadat. When that kind of control is there, akratu is there, all the functions bless you, all the dhatus bless you, all the senses bless you, then what happens? Pashyati. Such a person, saha pashyati. Kim pashyati? Ayam aham asmi iti. I am that. Tattvamasi. Iti pashyati. What is that? I am that. Sakshat janati. Pashyati means it directly recognizes. What is it that it recognizes? The nature of the Atma. That is why Bhashyakara takes the word Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanam Atmanaha. Atmanaha Mahimanam. Otherwise, we will normally translate it as the glory of the Atma. The glory of the Atma is Anuraniyan, Mahato Mahiyan, etc., etc. Nahanti, Nahanyate. All that is glory of the Atma. But here what he is saying is, this Atma, Tasya Mahimanam, Karma Nimitta Buddhi, Vriddhi Kshaya Rahitam. All actions that take place create either Vriddhi or Kshaya. Kshaya is reducing, reduction in terms of slowing down, in terms of becoming smaller or weaker. All that is Kshaya. Everything in this Jagat is subject to Vriddhi and Kshaya. Mountains grow. You know, at least some variety of mountains grow when two continents, that's how the Himalayas grew, clash. The land in between gets crushed and becomes like a mountain. That's how Himalayas grew. I'm saying grew, but I'm saying is growing. That thing is still happening. Somewhere I read Himalayas are growing at something like 3 inches per year. From the 20-odd thousand feet, 27-odd thousand feet, 3 inches per year. But sooner or later, that vriddhi will go down, Kshaya will begin to happen. So even inanimate things that happens. Animate things, of course, we know. Asti jayate, vardati, viparinamati, apakshayati. Everything that we know. But all this vriddhi and apakshaya has to be in relation to something which is not subject to vriddhi and apakshaya. How do you then otherwise measure it? How do you even know that it's happening? We know that nothing, no increase and decrease, whether in speed, whether in any other thing, even in your joy and happiness, cannot be seen unless there is a comparison with something which is unchanging. What is that unchanging thing? That we recognize as unchanging is that Atma. Therefore, he says, Atmanaha Mahimanam is that characteristic karma nimitta vriddhi kshaya rahitam. The unchanging nature of the Atma, pashyati. Recognition of that one stable, unchanging, which dictates or which makes us recognize the growth and kshaya of everything else. If we didn't have that anchor, we probably won't even recognize the movement. So that karma nimitta vidik kshaya rahitam pashyati. What is that Atma? He says, I am that Atma, ahamasmi. How can you arrive at that? Whole process for that also. Because everything else is changing. Vriddhi kshaya is happening to everything else. Now, I, as a concept, cannot be constantly changing. Otherwise, what will I have? I will have an I which is different every moment. Which I will recognize? Which I will know as I? Body keeps changing all the time. Every cell in the body is changing all the time, is dying and being reborn as a new cell. Mind is changing all the time. Thoughts are changing all the time. Feelings are constantly changing. I cannot place the I on any of them, but I do because I know better. And I can't, even if I come to the conclusion that these cannot be I don't know what I is, and therefore I go back to what I thought I knew, knowing very well that there is a fallacy there. Just stick with that. Till I actually find out what that I is by doing Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Till then, I, for want of anything better, accept that as I. Therefore, karma nimitta vriddhi kshaya rahitam pashyati, kim pashyati ayam aham asmi iti. This is I. Everything else is mithya. In terms of the words, in terms of the logic, this is understandable. But to have to drop all the wrong notions of I and to recognize this as I is what is required, what is going to take time. It's what is going to take the process of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Once you recognize this I, as Aham, the one who recognizes this, one who is able to, therefore, give up the identification with the body-mind sense complex, Dehatma Abhimanam. Such a person becomes a Jivan Mukta. And the result of that can be seen in the Tato Vigata Shoko Bhavati. Tataha Vigata Shoko Bhavati. freed of shoka. Really, although we say freed of shoka, which is what Dharmaraja has said, Vita shokaha. Really, it is Vita shoka harsha. There is no shoka, no harsha. But from the point of view that we are looking at, what is that we don't want? Shoka. Harsha comes with okay, I can live with harsha. There is no shoka, no harsha. The shoka, harsha belong to the Jagat, Mithya. But why do you Swamiji call it Satyam Jnanam Anand Sat Chit Anandam Brahma? That Anandam is the same as Sat, is the same as Chit, is the Adhishthanam for the entire apparent range of Harsha and all the way to Shoka. Any Jiva life is going like this up and down like a yo-yo. Harsha, Shoka, nothing in between. Harsha, Shoka, increasing, decreasing. That is life. That's what we know. That whole graph is not available, not necessary. I don't have to have the graph. I'm not even a sine curve or a sine wave or any other wave. In fact, I'm not a sine wave. Typically, I am Harsha, 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 Shoka, 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 Harsha, 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 Shoka, 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 Shoka. This is what this human life is like. Correct? You're not any of those. Therefore, Tataha Vigata Shoko Bhavati. But then see what the Tikakara says. So there's anything interesting there. Nothing really. This analysis of that which survives Deha Anta, the Atma. So one here we've analyzed in terms of Anuraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Yamadharmaraja continues with the same kind of thought processes. Anyata Durvigneyaha
Nyata durvigneyah.
Ayamatma
Ayamatma
Kamibihi
Kamibhihi
Prakrita Purushaihi
akarta purushaihi
Tasmat.
Yasmat
yasmat
This is Anyata Durvigneyaha. Anyata means here what? Without those conditions prescribed in the previous verse. What is that? Akratuhu, akamaha, drishta, drishtya, vishayebhya, uparata buddhihi. Without all of that, without that preparation, without this readiness, without that mind being thoroughly prepared, then this kami bihi, because he still has kama. Prakrita purushaihi, like everybody else. For him, it is not easy to understand. Durvigneyam. Only somebody who has gone through the process, who's understood, who's recognized that karma should not control me. I should, if any being, be master of the karma. That Maya should not control me. I should be able to take charge of Maya. Only for such a person is this knowledge possible to assimilate. Anyata durvigneya. I am Atma, anyata durvigneya. It is not only difficult, it's practically impossible. It's a famous dialogue in a Hindi movie. What is it? मुश्किल ही नहीं, नामुमकिन है. Somewhere I said English. You know? Really like that. For the kami bihi, by the kami, prakriti purushehi. Because in this next verse, he's going to talk about saying, Kastam madamadam devam madanyo jnatu marhati. Who can learn this? Who can understand this? Who has the capacity, the ability to understand this? Jnatu marhati. I, Yamadharmaraja, am saying only I or somebody like me, means somebody who's gained these qualifications can understand. We will look at this in the next class tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.